Once you've added your reservation information and all your detail with your service providers, it's now time to generate an invoice. By selecting the Invoice button in the toolbar, you will see that an invoice box will open. Your issue date is going to default to today's date, your computer date. You have the ability to choose branch remarks to print on your invoices. By selecting the Remarks button, you'll see that my agency has loaded 3 different branch remarks. These are going to be a little bit more general remarks. You'll typically see a thank you, maybe a domestic remark, passport, maybe baggage remarks, maybe a separate passport requirement remark. But your database administrator can add these to your database, and it just gives you the ability to customize your invoices and select the type of remark that applies to that particular trip. And you'll notice that my thank you had already been selected for me, and we're just going to go ahead and select the international remark as well. Down below that, you have your form of payment. It's very important to make sure you do select a form of payment, that you do not leave your form of payment blank. If it is not already filled in or defaulted to a specific form of payment, whereas mine is defaulted to credit card, and if this field is blank, you'll always want to make sure you select that drop down and select the appropriate form of payment. If you have credit card numbers stored within your profile, then you'll be able to see a list of all those credit card numbers by selecting the drop down, and you can select the appropriate credit card number, the credit card that was charged for the particular invoice. You have a trip balance due date. This is actually a field within your reservation. So if you enter your trip balance due date when you create your reservation, then that date is going to come over into your invoicing screen. If you did not enter a trip balance due date in your reservation, then this field would be blank, and you would need to either select the date by selecting the drop down and going through the calendar, or you can also free flow the date in there as well. You can also change this date if, let's say, you know you're going to be out of the office, or maybe this particular client's a slower payer and you want to back that date up a little bit, then you can certainly change that for those reasons as well. Down below that, we will have our reservations listed. In our example today, we only have one reservation in our res card, but if you did have multiple reservations, all of those reservations would be listed. And then we have down below 3 different columns of information. The very first column is always going to give you your reservation total. The next column is going to show you what has not been invoiced. We actually are doing our very first invoice today for this reservation, so our amounts are going to be the same as our reservation totals. And then the last column, this is the only place that you can make any changes to these, which means if you are not invoicing a full or final payment, only maybe a deposit or additional payment, you'll want to make sure that you change the amount in your base fare. So let's say $500 today. So just by putting that $500 under the base, it removes our tax and our commission because it knows that it's just a deposit or additional payment, and then our total fare of $500. Down below, there are 2 fields, travel type and submit to. These can be defaulted for you, as you see in my database they are. The travel type is important. Of course, it's pulling based on, because this is a cruise, it knows that it's a ship. And in this case, it is a deposit. If it was a final, I would want to select final. And then your submit to can either be contract or supplier. If you have Trans back office, it's very important that you select the correct submit to. You would want to contact your Trans back office or your database administrator. They can also have this field default for you. So you may not even have to change it or select it. But again, talk to your Trans back office person or your database administrator. Once we have selected those, we always suggest that you preview your invoice first. When you generate an invoice, you cannot change that invoice. You possibly could void it if you have the ability to void it and regenerate it, but you can't change the amount. So we always want to make sure that you preview the invoice first, not only to make sure that the dollar amount's correct, but actually all the invoice or all the information within your reservations and service providers are correct as well. When you are previewing an invoice, you will see draft copy listed on your invoice. There also will not be an invoice number. So if you ever see draft copy, that's because you're just previewing that invoice. So your logo will probably appear in the upper left-hand corner along with maybe some additional agency information. Your reservation information will be listed first. So this is our Princess Cruise, our confirmation number, our start and end dates. Down below that, your reservation information is going to be your service provider information. This is where you're going to see your graphics. Down below that, you'll always have a totals box. And your totals box will always be underneath your reservation and your service providers, but above your branch remarks. You'll notice that our branch remarks that we selected are printing underneath our totals. Now your totals box is always going to give you the total of the reservation. If you have multiple reservations, it will give you a total of all of them. It's going to show you what has already been invoiced, if anything. In our case, it was 0. What I'm invoicing right now, including the form of payment. And it's going to also list a balance due and, of course, bring in that balance due date that we had on our invoicing screen. So now, if this invoice is perfect and we're good to go, we can go ahead and select Generate Invoice up at the top. But if maybe, let's say that this $500 actually should have been $600. We made an error on that invoice amount. You'll always want to select the red door to exit in the upper left-hand corner. So select the red door to exit. It'll bring you back to your invoicing screen where you can make that change to that dollar amount, such as $600. We can certainly preview our invoice again. We feel pretty comfortable that it's perfect. So we're going to go ahead and generate on the right-hand side, select Generate Invoice. Once we generate that invoice, we now have an invoice number assigned to this document, and that draft copy no longer appears in the middle of the document at the top. But you'll notice the rest of it is exactly the same. It's going to give you your reservation information, your service provider information, your totals box, and then your remarks underneath that. In the upper right-hand corner, you have the ability to print this invoice right from here. You will have the ability to reprint it, and I will show you that in just a second. You may have the ability to view this invoice in Word, depending on your security within Clientbase. You have the ability to email it, merge to email, and email it directly from here. And then you also have the ability to attach this. Now by attaching it, it's just a couple clicks of the mouse. If I select Attach and OK, I'm going to go ahead and exit to close this out. So I'm hit the red door to exit. It actually brings me to my Attachments tab within my Res card. I'm going to go ahead and apply to save my changes. So an attachment, you'll notice that it is a PDF document, which means that this document will never change. It's like taking a picture of exactly what happened at this point in time. If we click on our Invoices tab, you'll notice here is our invoice that we just generated. Over on the right-hand side, we have the ability to reprint that. You may have the ability to void it, again, depending on your security level within Clientbase. But what would happen is, let's say 2 weeks from now, there's a change made to this reservation. Let's say that they ended up upgrading and the cost of the reservation changes. I can come back and reprint this invoice and it will reflect those changes. Any changes that I make will update your invoices regardless of when they were generated. However, our attachments will never change. So if you have a situation or you have a trip that's very complex and maybe there's been a lot of changes made to it, maybe it's a group, and you have a lot of components to it. Sometimes by just taking the couple clicks of the mouse and taking that time to attach it, you can come back and see what exactly happened at any point in time. Maybe it's the original invoice that was generated. What was the amount of the reservation? What was the reservation itself? Because again, you're going to have your reservation information, your service provider information. So we suggest that you just take that time, couple clicks of the mouse, and go ahead and attach your invoices. But again, on the Invoices tab, you do have the ability to reprint them. So now if it's a few months down the road and we need to make another payment, or your client's made another payment, you called that into the vendor. We want to go ahead and document our res card that credit card was charged. So we would just go up, select Generate Invoice again. Make sure all of my form of payment is selected. Let me make sure I have the correct remarks on here. Want to come down, and again, now you'll notice my middle column now has changed because we did already generate an invoice for $600. So it's just telling me what has not been invoiced, base, the tax, of course, the total. My last column, again, if I'm not doing a final payment, I want to make sure that I change this amount. So let's say they did do another $500. We can go ahead again and preview our invoice just to make sure everything is correct and everything is accurate. I'm going to go ahead and exit out the red door, and I want to go ahead and generate that invoice. From here, again, I'll want to attach it by selecting Attach in the upper right-hand corner. Select OK, and I'm going to exit to close out of this invoice. If I click on my Invoices tab, you'll now notice I have my second invoice that was generated. Of course, it's going to keep track of your total up here in the totals at the top of your res card. This will always give you your reservation total, what's been invoiced, and your balance due. We do have a class on more advanced invoicing available. I'm going to go over to our website, trams.com, and when you select the training tab at trams.com, we have a lot of resources available to help you learn client-based windows and even proceed if you already know the basics. We have recorded trainings, additional recorded trainings, just like the one that you're watching right now. One would be an advanced invoicing class, which would go through invoicing multiple reservations. We talk about split payments, just a little bit more advanced other than just the basics. We also have documentation available. We have our WebEx classes. We also have special spotlight classes and coffee chats where you're able from here to watch past classes that have already happened. And then also over on the right-hand side, we have a link to our client-based Q&A. Q&A is just an open forum. There's a trainer on the phone for an hour, and we're just waiting for you to call in, and you can ask any question, whether it be about invoicing, res cards, queries, whatever the question you have. Just join anytime during that hour. We're there the entire hour, whether you join 15 minutes in or 45 minutes in. So make sure you take advantage of that Q&A. We'd love to hear from you. We'd love to answer your questions. You also have, within Client-Base itself, you also have help. So if we select help up in the menu bar and contents, this is actually going to open our Client-Base Windows manual, which is very extensive, extremely detailed. Our manual is broken up into chapters over here on the left-hand side. You can also use the index and kind of use keywords. If we're maybe talking about res cards in general, we can just select R for res cards, and there's all sorts of information in here on res cards. You can also search for information, search on for a specific by a specific word. But please take advantage of our daily Q&As and look at help if you have any questions on Client-Base.